Hey, boys and girls, Mr. Matt here today, and thanks for joining us. And this week we're going to talk about another one of my hobbies. Like the last 2 weeks, we talked about can jam and rock collecting, which are other hobbies of mine. This week we're going to talk about coin collecting, right? So I actually have a coin from every different continent, except for Antarctica, of course, because they don't have currency there. So the six other continents, though. The six other continents, I have coins from those, so I was going to share some of those from my collection today. So the first one, we got North America, and I've got a coin from Mexico here. Let's see if I can get it still enough so you guys can see what it is. Okay, and it says Diez Nuevos Pesos. Okay, so Brazil, which is South America. Try to get this to focus in here. Let's see here. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. Back of that. Okay, moving on. So North America, South America. Let's go to Europe. All right, this is 20 pence from the United Kingdom. And also got some coins from Spain as well. These are both in Europe, right? So you can see that. Okay. And then this one, it's got a little hole in it. This is also from Spain. Okay, now next we'll move to Africa. That's some bills from the Central Bank of Egypt here. Okay. All right, and then we're in Africa, then we'll go to Asia next. This is from Japan. And this coin is also from Japan. We got another coin that's got a hole in the middle of it, right? And finally, Australia. Got this one's got a kangaroo on it. This is $1. Queen Elizabeth on the front, and Georgia on the front of this one. This one's a shilling. You can see the back. Okay, yeah. So those are just some coins from my coin collection as a kid I wanted to share with you. And also I've got one more. This one's from Israel. Okay, and do you guys know what continent Israel's in? It's in Asia. So, speaking of Israel, I want to talk today about a story that Jesus told that involves money. And so this is from Matthew 20:1 through 16. It's called The Story of the Workers in the Vineyard. It says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of an estate who went out early one morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay the normal daily wage and sent them out to work. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he was passing through the marketplace and saw some people standing around doing nothing. So he hired them, telling them that he would pay them whatever was right at the end of the day. At noon, and again around 3 o'clock, he did the same thing. At 5 o'clock that evening, he was in town and he saw some more people standing around. He asked them, "Why haven't you been working today?" They replied, "Because no one has hired us." The owner of the estate told them, "Then go on out and join the others in my vineyard." That evening, he told the foreman, which is like the guy in charge, to call the workers over so he could pay them, beginning with the last workers first. When those hired at 5 o'clock were paid, each received a full day's wage. When those hired earlier came to get their pay, they assumed that they would then receive more, but they too were paid a day's wage. When they received their pay, they protested. "Those people worked only 1 hour, and yet you paid them just as much as you paid us, who worked all day in the scorching heat." He answered one of them, "Friend, I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? Take it and go. I wanted to pay the last worker the same as you. Is it against the law for me to do what I want with my money? Should you be angry because I am kind?" And so it is that many who are first now will be last then, and those who are last now will be first then. So looking at this story here, do you think the owner treated everyone fairly in the story? Well, the people who have been working obviously didn't think that they had all been treated fairly, right? The people who had only worked an hour got paid the same amount as the people who worked the entire day. So the people that were working all day obviously felt that the owner was being unfair because they got the same amount of money. But the owner points out that, hey, I told you what I was going to pay you before you started, and I did pay you that, but that I wanted to be kind to the other people. Even though they didn't work as long and as hard as you, I still wanted to be kind, right? So this story is kind of about how God has a different view of what is fair sometimes than we do as humans, right? And so there's three things going on here. This is a story about being generous, generosity, right? The owner in the story who represents God is being generous. He's giving good things even to the people that haven't worked as long, right? So he's blessing them with good things, right? Number two, he's helping those that are in need. These people who have been working, they haven't been working, that they've been in the marketplace. It's because nobody's hired them, right? So they really have a need there, and so he's taking on that need and helping people. And probably if they're not working and they're still at the marketplace, especially later in the day, they're not probably skilled workers, right? Or maybe they're not from the area, so they're definitely in real need of money and work. So the owner's helping these people out in this story. Number three, this story is about God's grace, and we've talked about grace before, right? Grace is something that God gives freely to us out of love, and so it's kindness, compassion, and God's grace that He gives us in this story is profound for the people that have only worked a little bit. He loves those people that sometimes the world looks at as unlovable or unhelpable, right? Or they don't want to be bothered with them, right? And the owner in the story looks at these people and he has compassion on them, and he says, I'm going to help them, and I'm going to decide to be extra generous and give them more money than what they deserve, right? So when next time we're in a situation where we think maybe it's unfair, because that's what life is, we get into these situations sometimes, right? May we remember about this story in the Bible, and that sometimes things are not always fair, but may we also be thankful too that that God has a different version of what fairness is, and that may we remember that there's many times that that God has been good to us when maybe we didn't really deserve it, right? So being thankful for God's grace and trying to extend the same type of grace and love to others, to those that are, especially those in need, right? All right, so let's wrap it up. We'll pray here. Lord, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for your love, your generosity, your helpfulness, your grace. And please help us to see those in the world through your eyes and to do as you told us to do. In your name I pray. Amen. Bye, boys and girls. Until next week.